I once heard a saying, life is like a symphony. It has its moments of high and low notes. However, if we put our trust, faith, and our lives in the hands of God, He will never fail to orchestrate in our lives a beautiful musical masterpiece in the end. My next guest shares her symphony of life. My name is Raymond Valiente, host of the Reignite Your Faith series. Angela Baraquio Gray graduated with a bachelor's degree in elementary education and also received her master's degree in education administration, both from the University of Hawaii. Angela made history in 2001 as the very first Asian American woman and the only Filipino woman to be crowned Miss America since the pageant's inception in 1921. Today, Angela proudly serves as principal at St. Anthony's of Padua's Catholic Elementary School in Gardena, California. She is also a motivational speaker, TV host, pageant consultant, and a business owner. She is also the author of a faith-based memoir called Amazing Win, Amazing Loss, Miss America Living Happily Even After. Today, Angela shares her story and how her Catholic faith has made an impact in her life, despite adversities and challenges. I hope you enjoy this interview with Angela Baraquio Gray. Angela, I just have one thing to say before we start our interview.
Sure.
There she is, Miss America 2001.
Very nice. Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha, mabuhay.
Aloha and mabuhay.
How are you, Raymond?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. I know you
Nice
are.
voice.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I actually tried auditioning once for a pop TV show, and I didn't make the first round, but I did get some cameo appearances on
Very
Access
cool.
Hollywood.
Awesome. My husband was on The Voice season 7.
Oh, he was. Wow.
Yeah.
Did he,
Awesome. No, he went all the way to the blind auditions.
oh, the blind auditions.
Yeah, so
Did he get any cameos at least?
Yeah, I got some with my kids, so that was cool with Carson Daly.
Nice. Our
You're
5
right up
seconds
there,
of
right up
fame. What was that last part?
You said you're right up there with him.
Oh, all right.
All the best.
Thanks again for being on. I know that it is a busy time in your school schedule, but we appreciate taking the time to be with our audience and just to be able to share your short story of your Catholic faith and how
Sure.
it's impacted you, and to help reignite the faith, especially in our young adults today. So
My pleasure. Thank you.
awesome. So, I mean, we'll talk about a little bit about the book that you wrote, Amazing Win, Amazing Loss. But I wanted to start by just saying, as principal and, as a former Miss America, do your students know that you have participated in the pageant?
Yes, most of them do, especially the ones who've been here for a lot of years. I mean, I was here for 6 years. This is my
Uh-huh.
5th year as principal, but I started as an English teacher. The year that I wrote the book was my first year that I was here at St. Anthony. So many of the students who have been here for many years know, the parents
Hmm.
know, and the new ones not so much. But when they look it up, they're like really surprised. What? Our principals, Miss America? It's pretty cool. But for the most part, it's pretty chill. We're low key.
Low key about it. Well,
Yeah.
excellent. It has been since 2001, but it probably seems like yesterday when it all happened for you.
Sure. Yeah. It seems like it's yesterday just because it was probably the most defining moment of my life and the most incredible feeling
Hmm.
to be chosen from about 12,000 contestants across the country to compete for the scholarship of Miss America. Um, I actually competed for 3 years before I won.
Right.
So to be looking up to a lot of these role models who had won in the past, and to be the first Asian Miss America in 2001, it was a huge honor and just a great privilege. Also to be the first and only Filipina to win in almost 100 years of the pageant's existence.
Yeah. Represent for the Filipinos.
Hey! Great. It was
So
such an honor.
yeah, so thank you for doing it and taking the courage, because I know it wasn't an easy thing you know, to participate in. But
No, it wasn't. But
Mhm.
the one big thing, because I was never a pageant girl growing up, I started running in pageants when I was 18, but it was mostly for the scholarships. I'm one of 10 kids. I originally come from Honolulu, Hawaii, and my parents are from Manila and Pangasinan. So
Mhm.
being a Filipina child born and raised in Hawaii to immigrant parents, we didn't have a lot of opportunities at our fingertips. But the Miss America organization provided that scholarship platform and also an opportunity for me to speak about my platform, which was character education. So
Mhm.
when I won Miss Hawaii in 2000 and Miss America in 2001, I traveled on a 20,000 mile a month national speaking tour called Character in the Classroom, teaching values, valuing teachers. And so it's really wonderful to be in the classrooms now and in a school where I'm actually using the scholarship money that paid for my master's degree for Miss America,
Hmm.
got my credential in California, in Hawaii, and also just my administration credential because of the Miss America money that I won. So earning over $100,000 in scholarships through the participation of this nonprofit, which is the largest scholarship provider for young women in the world,
Hmm.
it allowed me to be able to really fulfill many of my dreams and my educational goals. I'm grateful.
Wow. So should we make a recommendation to all our moms with daughters?
You know what? I have 5 kids, so my 4 sons are like, "Can we run for Miss America?" I said, "You know what? Sorry, I don't know what's out there for the guys. We'll figure it out." But you know, my daughter is like, "Mommy, I want to be Miss America." And the cool thing is, the rules have changed. When I
Uh-huh.
competed, there was a swimsuit competition. Now there is no more swimsuit competition.
Right. That's right.
They've also done away with the evening gown, which we'll save all those commentaries for later. But for the most part, it was a different program when I ran.
Hmm.
Still continues to give scholarships to women, and I think it's a wonderful thing when you can try to become your best version of yourself and
Yeah.
still earn scholarship money for schooling. I think it's an amazing program, and it's very empowering. It was empowering for me.
So the preparation part of joining a pageant like that, what is it like as far as to take
Pretty intense.
months? Uh-huh.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually 24 years old when I competed my third time, and I was a teacher at Holy Family Catholic Academy. So I was a PE teacher for grades K through 2. I had just graduated from college with an elementary ed degree, and my 2 students actually dared me to run. So they were on my volleyball team, wanted to play basketball, and I said, "Hey,
Hmm.
you don't try, you'll never know." So they were like, "What about you?" Turned it around on me and became this big dare. The story was actually taken and put into Chicken Soup for the Soul of from Hawaii. So
Wow.
my 2 students, Rachel and Emarissa, challenged me to compete, and I actually did, and I ended up winning on my third try. So we say third time's a charm. The preparation took months. Think I said yes in November to compete. I didn't win my first preliminary. I won my second preliminary, which qualified me to go to Miss Hawaii for my third time because I went when I was 18 and 19. Those were my first pageants.
Hmm.
And in the process of even not winning, I earned over $14,000 in scholarship assistance. So I'm like, I'm gonna keep going. So by the time I won my third try, I actually went to qualify at Miss America for the first time, and I ended up winning. But really, it was the preparation took from November, and I competed in October. So it was almost 11 months of preparing. The phases of competition during my year were talent, swimsuit, evening
Hmm.
gown, and interview. So interview was 30%, talent was 40%, and the other two, evening and swimsuit, were 15%. So very small percentages, but very important to be a well-rounded individual. You
Hmm.
can't just get on a stage and figure it out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of preparation, a lot
A
of
lot of
coaching.
planning. Hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So months and months of preparation, a lot of focus and prayer and discipline and self-sacrifice.
Definitely. I mean, that included food and exercise as
Everything.
well.
Going out with friends, hanging out with family, just saying no to adobo and pancit. I'm serious. I cried. I'm like,
Oh,
my birthday, I can't have pancit and adobo. Lumpia, come on now.
what a horrible feeling. But the
What?
sacrifice was worth it, right?
It was worth it. Yeah, absolutely.
What a bummer. But I'm glad you pulled through.
Thank you. Thank you. Me too.
So I want to go back a little bit. I mean, you have 9 siblings,
Mhm.
and you are the more on the younger end side, correct?
I'm number 8 of 10 kids.
Number 8. How was that living with so many siblings?
Chaos, complete chaos, constant chaos. And it's funny because I have 9 brothers and sisters, but I ended up hiding in my closet just for a little bit of alone time and space
Uh-huh.
because it was just so much going on all the time. I loved it and I had a wonderful childhood, but it wasn't easy growing up, like I said, in an immigrant home in Hawaii where our parents were just trying to figure things out. They were teachers
Yeah.
from the Philippines, started their own company, and a termite control company in Hawaii, and put us all through Catholic schools. I mean, that was a big focus for them that we went to Catholic schools and that we were raised in the faith. So I have a lot of great childhood memories, but it wasn't always easy. Um, to this day, though, my siblings and I have become very close.
Hmm.
I think as we've grown older, we just realized the importance of family and our faith. So that's what's held us together.
I like in the book you meant your mom gave you a quote, or I read it about. I'll just read it. It says, "Angie, if you obey God and do His will, your life w- will be better than a fairy tale."
Hmm. Yeah.
How's that quote impacted you? Obviously,
She said this to me in college because I used to have this big entertainment center and collected a lot of Disney collectibles.
Uh-huh.
And she came downstairs and she said, "That's nice, you know, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Beauty and the Beast, all that great stuff, right? Cinderella." She says, "But Angie, if you obey God and do His will, your life will be better than a fairy tale." I didn't really, it registered and it clicked for me, but really solidified it as a
Hmm.
premonition almost when I was in my hotel room just 2 days after I was crowned Miss America, because I was followed for the first 48 hours by Joan London for a special called Behind Closed Doors with Miss America with Joan.
Hmm.
It was for A&E. So I'm traveling in the first 2 months of my year. I'm in a hotel. Actually, all year I was in a hotel. I was in a different city every 18 to 36 hours, if you can
Wow,
imagine
it's a lot
that.
of
So
travel. Hmm.
always a one-way ticket. And so I'm in the hotel room one day and I'm watching TV and I'm flipping channels and on A&E, it's the show that's featuring me. And it's like, Miss America just crowned and this
How
is
did it feel? Was it a little weird?
crazy. So surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So surreal. And so I'm watching myself on TV going, this is crazy. Like I'm trying to remember it because it was a blur, but I'm seeing it in black and white on television. So watching it, and the CEO at the time was Robert Renison, and he said, think about it. Her parents are immigrants from the Philippines. 30 years later, their eighth born child becomes Miss America. If that's not a Cinderella story, I don't know what is. And I was like, oh, my mom. I thought about that quote that she said to me, and I was like, you know, because I had prayed the whole competition, prayed for his will. Of course, everybody there
Hmm.
wants to win, but you know, everybody's also very capable of winning. They have great
Sure.
talent. They are all working out. They're, you know, at the best, their best selves at Miss America because they're all working for it. So you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt that if I don't win, it's okay. It doesn't make me a loser. I'm still a winner. I won my
That's
state. And
right.
like, I'm here. I'm making friends. I'm having fun. So I really just went in with an open heart and just an open mind. But of course, the desire to win. And I thought, God, if you put this desire in me, let me just do your will. If it's your will for me to win, despite all the odds and the obstacles that everything is saying I shouldn't win,
Hmm.
if you want me to win, let me just do your will, win or not win. But if I do, please let me do your will. That was my prayer. So the moment that I was crowned, I also did not think I was going to win, but I just said a prayer of thanksgiving, like, thank you so much. And I wanted to make him proud. I wanted to do what he wanted me to do with this title because it was such an amazing opportunity to have my voice be amplified and have
Hmm.
the crown be a sort of microphone for me.
God works in mysterious ways, and He
He
allowed
does.
it for a reason.
Hmm.
And I loved how even when you won Miss America, your Catholic faith didn't, I mean, obliterate. It was
Oh,
still there. It was your foundation and your rock that you made sure that Mass was still a priority even on Sundays.
absolutely. You know, it's funny because when I was competing for Miss Hawaii, I told my priest, I'm having some issues here because my mom has never seen me in a two-piece swimsuit. And the judges and have all told me, you look like you're trying to hide something with your one piece. And I said, I'm just trying to be modest. They say, well, quite frankly, it's bringing your scores down because
Hmm.
people think that you're embarrassed of the way you look. I said, no, I'm just trying to be modest. And they said, are you not working out? I said, of course I'm working out. And I said, I had to think about it. And I talked to my priest at the time and I said, I'm really torn. Maybe I should just stop running and, you know, drop
Right.
out of the competition because I'm a Catholic school teacher. I was teaching PE at the time, and he says, "Well, what is the swimsuit for?" I said, "To show your lifestyle is healthy, and it's a fitness piece." I said, "It's part of the scoring, and I would love to be Miss America, but this is the one competition that kind of gets under my skin,
Hmm.
like so to speak, because I wanted to show people that I was comfortable in who I was, and yet I didn't feel I needed to parade around in a swimsuit at the time." Um, and yet was thinking about being an athlete because I played basketball in high school. I ran cross country. I played volleyball, and I thought to myself, you got to play the game. You have to wear the uniform. You got to
Hmm.
follow the rules. So I came with an athletic mentality, and I never looked at myself as, um, you know, a model before. And I felt to myself, if I'm going to do this competition, I'm going to view it as an athlete. I'm going to be my best self. I'm going to get fit. I'm going to work out. I'm going to be disciplined, and I just want to be healthy. So that's what I did. Worked out every day, twice a day sometimes in the gym, but equally watching the news, working on my interview skills and everything else,
Hmm.
practicing my talent. So having to balance all those things in all the faces of competition. When I talked to my priest, he said to me, which really stood out to me because this is what goes back to the Catholic faith. He
Hmm.
says, Angie, there aren't enough Catholics at the forefront. That's how he responded. There
Hmm.
aren't enough Catholics in the forefront. And I said, okay, so what are you saying? And he says, when you win, didn't say if you win, when you win, he says, don't ever forget that we're always connected through the Eucharist. This was Father McNeely, my pastor, where I was teaching at Holy Family in Hawaii,
Hmm.
who has since passed away. But I will never forget those words of advice because he says, you can always be connected through the Eucharist at Mass. And he says, and when you leave your position, make sure that it's better left the way than when you found
It
it.
was.
Whatever it was, whether it was I took that to be after you win Miss America, because he says not if but when, and he goes, I just have a good feeling about you, and this is what you need to do. And so I thought, wow, I got the blessing from my priest to really look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And so after I had won, I always remembered that if I were to win, I'm going to use it to glorify God. And when I won, I remember being followed by Joan London, and I had them turn off the cameras because the first thing I did was say, let's go to the nearest church. So they all followed me to church, and the whole entourage was with me sitting in the pew. And of course, people recognized me because I had won the night before.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a statue of Mother Mary with a crown on it. And the reading was from the Book of Wisdom, which recently was in our Gospels. And it's talked about how I preferred wisdom over scepter and throne. And I just remembered how humbled I felt. I said, I'm Miss America, but here's Mother Mary. She's Queen of Heaven and Earth, and here she is with her crown. Let's put things back into perspective. And so going to Mass every week was a priority for me.
Mm-hmm.
And even though my manager said, you're going to lose money, most Miss Americas only work they take one day off a month. I said, absolutely not. Sundays are off.
Sunday.
No matter where I am, I'm going to church. And that was just something I had to do for myself. It was for no other reason. And so that was something that was very sacred to me. And I was very thankful for that, because I was also Miss America during 9/11. And so that my faith and continuing to receive the Eucharist on a regular basis was a blessing for me, because it really prepared me for what was to come. And I didn't know what was to come.
Wow. So even during that time, I mean, those graces that you received during the Eucharist were definitely beneficial, especially when the 2001 9/11 incident happened.
Right.
Give you the grace to prepare you for being the ambassador
For
or
sure.
ambassadoress. Mm-hmm.
To be Miss America at a time when America was under attack and was going to war, it was an inexplicable experience, because it felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders at the time, even though it wasn't. It was, of course, it was in my head, because I'm not trying to make more of it than it was, but I was the face of America in some ways, and as a representative traveling the country on a speaking tour and a meeting with children, and speaking at the National Governors Conference, being in Capitol Hill, speaking with presidents at the time. It was a big deal to have that to contend with, as the current Miss America, where so many people around the world were against our country.
Mm-hmm.
Again, having that grace to ask God to take those burdens off of me, to take that heaviness off of my heart, because that was a residual feeling, kind of like PTSD. I actually was invited to go to the World Trade Center just weeks after September 11th, because I met somebody 2 weeks before that, and the manager, who was at the top of the World Trade Center, he worked in the restaurant, said, oh my gosh, it's a wonderful experience meeting you, and I would love to host you and your friends when you come back. I said, I'll be back in New York in just a few months. And he was like, here's my card, gave me his name, gave me his card, and he says, I would love to host you and your friends if you ever come up. Absolutely. Let's keep in touch. And then after 9/11, his name was on one of the list of the casualties. And so I had a lot of friends, even at Miss America, who lost family members. One of them was even related to one of the pilots.
Oh, wow.
Planes that hit. So it really hit close to home. I don't think I would have experienced that if I did not win Miss America, because I didn't know all these people as personally as I did when I traveled. Even some former Miss Americas lost their children in the World Trade Center. And so it was very heavy at the time, and a lot of grief, but to see the beauty that came out of that tragedy, to see people coming together, my friends in New York, my friends in Philadelphia, my friends in Atlantic City and New Jersey, really coming together, all of the first responders coming together, and were real life heroes. It was an amazing experience to see that love emanate from such a horrible tragedy.
Right. Wow. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about about your book, and about how you talk about amazing win and amazing losses as well. There have been, I'm sure, there have been stories you talk about your younger brother as well. How has your faith helped you through these challenges that you faced?
My faith has been my rock. If I didn't have my faith, I don't know where I'd be today. I'm so thankful to be a Catholic educator, a Catholic Catholic school principal, because I know that I'm saving souls. We're growing saints here at our school, and that's something I'm very, very proud of. I have 5 children of my own, and as I was going through my the darkest time before my current battle that I'm fighting, it was losing my brother. He was 2 years younger than me. He actually, people used to call him Kobe Bryant. You know,
Really?
he was 41. He would have been 41, just like Kobe, and he was actually born the same year as my brother.
Oh, wow.
And so it was hard for us to experience the loss of Kobe Bryant because, in some ways, his being alive kept my brother's memory alive. And so losing him was like losing my brother again,
Wow.
even though I didn't know him personally.
Right.
He went to the church where I used to teach at Our Lady Queen of Angels in Newport. That
Right.
was the school that I used to teach at. So it's my brother, he died by suicide when he was 28 years
Mm.
old. And he was the ninth of 10 children. So he was 2 years younger than me.
Right.
I talk about my faith because I think when he died, growing up as a Catholic, you don't hear that people who commit suicide go straight to heaven, right? You hear either the opposite or they're suffering and it just didn't look good for them. You know, you hear, I remember growing up saying, you kill yourself, you're going to go to hell. And that was a hard thing for me to wrap my head around as a Catholic. I could have gone the other way, and I think a lot of my siblings probably struggled in their own way of grieving and
Mm-hmm.
trying to understand what happened and where my brother went and what was the purpose of all of it. It was a tailspin. My whole mind was in a tailspin. My world was crushed, and I think I cried consistently for the first 3 months without.
Right.
I couldn't talk about it without breaking down. It's been, he's 20. He would have been 41, so it's been 13 years since he's been gone, and it seems like yesterday. Just like we talk about the amazing win. Winning Miss America was just like yesterday. Losing my brother was just like yesterday.
Today also. Mhm.
And with life, there are highs and there are lows, right? That was a very extreme high when I won, an extreme, extreme low. But through it all, the thread was my faith. And so I had to ask myself, do I really believe in what I say I believe? I had to go back to the creed. I had to go back to the teachings of the Catholic Church. And I'm like, do I
Mhm.
really believe this? Because there was so much hope in the resurrection. There was so much hope in the divine mercy chaplets, in the idea that God is forgiving and merciful and that prayers work. And so I had to cling on to something, and that was my faith.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, for whether it was an amazing win and having God be that faith, that faith piece be the rock and the bedrock, the foundation of who I was and what I did, the same thing goes when I was in my deepest, darkest moments, hitting rock bottom, um, feeling the grief of my own depression that was the
Uh-huh.
PTSD that was kind of residual from 9/11. I was dealing with my own depression that year. And then to have my brother die, it was a wake up call that this is not from God. These feelings of depression and anxiety are not from God.
Mhm.
It's from the evil one. And he's trying to take us. He's trying to fight for our souls. And so who do we have on our side? We have the angels, we have the saints, we have the Blessed Mother and her intercession, and
Mhm.
all of our friends and relatives who've gone before us, who are in heaven praying for us. And when we're open to that, to the reality of what's happening outside of the physical world, I think it's amazing. Our faith is so beautiful. If we can just be authentic and share it with others, share a testimony of faith, um, we can save so many souls.
God's mercy is so beautiful that we will never understand in regards to how, in the situation that your brother was in, taking his own life. But we trust in that mercy, which in your faith you truly exemplify, and I think that's beautiful to be able to do that. Um, and we continue to pray for your brother and your family and the loss, and I know that the Lord is always looking out for us, regardless.
For sure.
So yeah. Oh. Um,
It's
I wanted to ask, I know that right now it's also a very sensitive time at this point in regards to, like, you're dealing with some challenges at the moment.
Yes. Um, Again, God is so good, and I try to focus on the positives. I think was born with the optimism gene. I always try to look for the silver lining and find the
Uh-huh.
blessing in everything. Making lemonade out of lemons. Um, a huge, huge obstacle that I was faced with last year. September 2018 was when I got the call after my regular physical exam that after getting my mammogram, it was my second one I've ever had. And I pushed for it because my sister, my older sister, had a diagnosis of breast cancer. So I was just trying to be, proactive about it. The first year they said, "Oh, you're fine." Second year I went in and they called me and they said, "We saw something on your mammogram." And I said, "What?
Hmm.
Is it cancer?" And they said, "Well, we don't know yet. We need to have you come in for a biopsy and get checked out." So long story short, I go in and they find something. I get the phone call after work on September 26th. And I just remember being so calm and collected because I just was like, okay, what do I need to do? What treatment do I have to have? What's going on? So they started saying it's either surgery, chemo, radiation, and you have all these options. And so I said, when's my appointment? When do I schedule it? And I was just so matter of fact, because I remember them telling me, if you get a phone call, the results are probably positive.
Mm.
If you get an email, it's negative. So I was hoping and praying. I told my kids, Mommy just took a test. Let's pray that I get an email. Okay, from the hospital. The next day I got a phone call, and they told me 3 to 5 days, but within 24 hours they called me, and I already knew. So again, it was that grace of just being prepared for the news that I was able to handle it with a cool head. And I remember the nurse telling me, we found something, and it was a tumor that's cancerous.
Mm.
And I said to her, what does that mean? She says, well, we would need to start talking about treatment and what you want to do moving forward. And so I said, what are the best chances of survival? What are my chances? And she said, well, people offer surgery, chemo, radiation for these situations, and you would have to decide what you want to do. And I said, I want to do it all because I have 5 kids. I'm a principal of a school. I need to live. And she said, most of the people that run towards treatment are the ones who are able to fight this and do it, successfully. The people that run away from treatment are the ones that maybe the outcome is not as great.
Yeah.
Because, I didn't want to be in denial. I didn't want to say this isn't happening. I had to just face what was and accept it and face it head on. So as soon as I hung up with her, she's like, well, I'm very proud of you. You're handling yourself very well. I said, thank you. Hung up because, of course, I'm still at school. I'm in principal mode, right?
Yeah.
And I get on the phone. I call my mom. I call my husband. I call my sister. And like some of them weren't available. And I just remember calling and calling until I found a live person on the phone to be like, and I totally broke down crying. And like I said, it was horrible. It was kind of like my brother dying all over again. It was just that grief. It was constant, just tears and emotions and heaviness because I didn't know if I was going to make it. I didn't know anything of the diagnosis at that point, except that I had breast cancer. And so I've been fighting this since September. I've had 5 surgeries since September 2018. It's now January 2020. I've just fought it. I had chemo for a year. I just finished it and got my port out. Um, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for modern medicine. I'm thankful for my doctors and my nurses, most especially for the prayers that lifted me up during those very difficult times when I was by myself and just feeling so alone. And I just knew that I wasn't alone. So again, leaning on my prayers, on the prayers of others, my own prayers and my own faith, that has gotten me through it. And I think a little bit of humor has also helped me get through it. I was joking around that I'm going to write my second book. It's called Humor in the Tumor. And my husband's like, what?
What a perfect tag! What a perfect title.
He was like, are you going to offend people? I said, hello. I'm one of those people. So if that's going to help me get through, without crying and being embarrassed, absolutely, I'm going to, laugh because laughter is the best medicine. So I started writing some things in my journal just about my anecdotes of the funny things that have happened along the way and trying to find any reason to laugh because I think it does help us when you kind of make light of a really heavy situation.
Yes. Wow. Well, first of all, I admire you for your courage just to keep going and keep fighting. And regardless of the health issue that you have, that you're just going to keep fighting and you're going to keep at it and keep working as a principal. That is amazing.
Yeah.
To have that strength and, by the grace of God and of course your cooperation with that too.
For sure. I took off 2 months of medical leave and my was amazing. The parents are so understanding. My family and my friends got together and they even put together a meal train to take care of my kids when I was out and I couldn't even walk, and I was in such pain in the first few months after the big surgery that I got. But just so much love was poured into our family. And I think just having that gratitude, like when you know that you're not grieving alone, it makes such a big difference. And I think people are afraid to say the wrong thing or to say something to somebody who has cancer. I would just recommend just prayers and understanding. And that goes a long way to bless somebody, even if you never see them, just bless them in your heart, pray for them. And those prayers are going to be felt and those prayers are going to be realized.
Yeah. Power of prayer. Beautiful.
For sure.
Gosh, Angela, there was so much more that I'd love to ask you, but I know that we are short on time. But if there was, for our young adult audience that is watching, what piece of advice from all of your experience, what one life lesson would you like to share with them today?
My goodness, that's a loaded question. For any young person listening, I would just say, hold on to your faith, hold on to faith in God. We have but one place to go, and our goal should be heaven. When I talk to my students and I talk to my parents, the whole purpose of me being here, our mission as a Catholic school, is to be followers of Jesus. So if we look to Jesus as our role model and follow in his footsteps, know that he's gone before us. it makes everything else kind of pale in comparison. I mean, I'm like, big deal. I'm going through chemo. Come on. What's God been through? What's Jesus been through, on Calvary?
Hmm.
Praying my rosary, going to mass often has really helped. Praying novenas. Um, I've gotten so much more faithful, so much more prayerful, so much more open to the angels that are surrounding us. Just the beauty of our faith. I would just encourage everybody to just really learn more about the faith, learn more about the Catholic faith. I've had a friend who was an atheist, and he is now probably an even stronger Catholic than I am, because he said, I was trying in my quest to disprove that there was a God. I found that the Catholic faith is the one true faith. And that's something I'd want to impress upon the young people listening. Um, I don't do what I do because of the money. It's definitely a ministry to be in Catholic education. It's a calling, it's a vocation. I encourage everyone to listen to their hearts. Where is God calling you to make this kingdom on earth just like the kingdom in heaven? Because that's kind of what we're preparing for. And so if I tell my parents that we're preparing our kids for high school, college, career in heaven, our ultimate goal is heaven. What are we doing today? Are we ready to meet our maker
Hmm.
if we were to die today? Because tomorrow is not promised to us, as we've learned recently in the world events that are happening.
Yeah.
So just encouraging people to continue prayer, like Mother Mary, our Blessed Mother, gives us those messages of prayer, fasting, and penance. And as we enter this season of Lent and the beautiful season of Easter, just to remember in the hope of the resurrection that Jesus came to forgive us for our sins. He wants to forgive us with open arms. And he's given us so many tools, spiritual tools at our disposal. So if I could just encourage everyone to grow in their faith and to grow to become better people and better saints, so that we can eventually praise God and worship him in heaven forever. That's my message.
Yes, beautiful words of wisdom, and we appreciate it. And I pray that the audience that's listening will take heed to those words, especially as we're entering upon Lent.
Yes.
If people want to reach you or get more information, where can they find you?
My book is on Amazon. They can check out Amazing When, Amazing Loss, Miss America, Living Happily Even After. Yes, so that's on Amazon. I also have a website, angelaperezbaraquio.com. Ever since I've gone through treatment, I have been kind of taking a break from speeches, and I used to tour a lot on
Hmm.
top of being a full-time principal and a mother of 5, but I would love to hear from everybody, and I'm also on Facebook under Angela
Excellent.
Perez Baraquio. Great. Thank you, Raymond. It's been a pleasure and an
Oh,
honor.
it's been a pleasure. Before I let you go, though, I'm going to ask what we do with all our guests. We do a rapid fire, quick questions to get to know our speaker and our guest. I'll ask 3 of them. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. Your favorite food is
Anything Filipino.
anything Filipino. I love it. If you could have a cup of coffee with one saint, who would it be?
Oh, with one saint. Oh my gosh. Okay, first one that comes to mind, Padre Pio.
Padre Pio.
Say Padre Pio.
Nice. And if you had the gift to bilocate,
Ooh.
where would you bilocate to?
Hawaii, of course.
Hawaii. That's right. Mainland. What part of Hawaii were you from, by the way?
I'm from Oahu.
Oahu. All right.
Yes.
I'd like to bilocate to Hawaii too. And I'm sure our audience would love to be there as well, especially with the cold weather. But
Absolutely. It's been frigid outside. This wind is crazy, but it's
it
beautiful.
is.
Yeah.
Angela, thank you so much. It has been an
Of course.
honor to have you with us and share your story.
Thank you, Raymond.
And many blessings to you, especially during Lent and the rest of the year,
Thank you
2020.
so much. And blessings to you and your ministry. I love what you're doing. Keep it up. Keep up the great work. God bless you.
Thank you. And to our audience, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you again on the next episode.
Wonderful.
God bless.